Hello, everyone. I've been here from Salvation Engine, and I'd like to talk about how the grace of God has been active in my own life. I can observe that God has led me by His grace from the time I was born to this point where I stand. It has always been about God's goodness. Now, I need the supply of His grace daily. If you're a mom, like I'm a mom, you know what I'm talking about. I'm a mom of a 5-year-old gifted toddler, and you need super grace to raise a toddler. So there's grace for all areas of our lives. There is grace as we walk out our relationship with the Lord, our relationship with others. And I'm always in awe about the abundance of His grace towards me, towards us, without the need for us to do anything to earn it. And that is the message of my ministry, and that is the message behind what I'm sharing here today. So one such example of the multitude of examples from the Bible that gives us a view of God's grace and the privileges that we enjoy in His grace is a story that I would like to share with you from the book of 2 Samuel chapter 9. And it's the story of Mephibosheth, who was the son of Jonathan. Jonathan was the son of King Saul. And so one day in the reign of King David, he asks, is there anyone, he inquired in his kingdom, is there anyone from the house of King Saul that David could show his favor? And so there was such a one, and his name was Mephibosheth. Now, Mephibosheth was the son of Jonathan, and Jonathan was the son of King Saul. Mephibosheth was lame in both legs because his nanny had dropped him while trying to flee with him to protect him from war. And so when Mephibosheth appears before King David, he comes into King David with such a low self-esteem. He comes to King David and he's bowing down, his head is bowed, he refers to himself as a dead dog, and he feels so undeserving of the king's favor, because you see, the king had said to him that he's restoring to him all the things that Saul owned. The land from his grandfather Saul now belonged to Mephibosheth. And so this was unbelievable to him, because he was coming from a place of such low esteem and low estate. And also we must remember that King Saul was always at odds with King David, trying to kill him. So Mephibosheth receives this place of unprivileged mercy from King David, whereby King David restores unto him his inheritance and even gives him servants to tend to that inheritance. And so King David treats Mephibosheth as a son, and he really gives him all the privileges of David's own sons, which would be sitting at the table all the days of his life to eat with the king. Now, all these beautiful illustrations of David's kindness to Mephibosheth are exactly the Father's kindness to us, because of the great covenant that God has with His Son Jesus. We too have come into a place of undeserved privilege, and it's a bountiful place of privilege. And we can come in because we're coming from the world, we're coming from what we've been through, the abuse of the world that we have suffered. It can become hard not just to come in, but to accept this free love, to learn the simple steps of how to enjoy love, how to be loved. Imagine that we need to teach ourselves how to be loved. This is the boundless bounty of God's grace. And so we can enjoy God's grace. We need to learn how to enjoy God's grace. This is not something we can grasp. You know, the boundless limits of God's grace is not something we can grasp mentally, but we can only discern it with our hearts and receive it by faith, without having to do anything on our part. You know, just like Mephibosheth was lame in both legs and he came in, there was nothing he could do to earn to David's estate. You know, there was nothing Mephibosheth could do to add to David's estate. There was nothing he could do to add to a finished work. He was simply being invited in to sit at the table and eat and dine with the King. And King Jesus is saying to you and I, come in, sit down and eat. Let me love you. You know, God created us to be loved. We want to do things. We want to perform, and we want to feel like we have contributed to the elements. We've contributed, we've achieved, we've worked. This is why we are blessed. But God is simply saying, I want to love you. I receive you as a son. Sit at my table. So this life transforming message, once it sinks down into our core, it really changes how we see God, and we really begin to walk out the love the Lord your God, love your neighbor as you love yourself. That becomes a reality, because we realize we're all in this place of undeserved, unearned privilege. The Lord bless you. You can listen to more of my messages at Salvation Engine. I love to talk about God's love and God's goodness. That is the special place that I've been positioned in the body of Christ to speak about that. I understand there's a lot that can be talked about how we enjoy our relationship with God, but that's my little corner and I'm having fun doing it. Be blessed.
I've got one response. I've got just one move. With my arms stretched wide, I will worship you. So I'll throw up my hands and praise you again.